Good evening, Truth Seeker. This evening, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Inner Genie Project again and what I'm attempting to do with this, what I'm committed to do, what I have a mission to do with this. Hope you'll join me in some way. Give me a thumbs up at least. People who dare speak the truth, if they speak it publicly anyways, are on the chopping block of this world. It means that this world is hostile to us. Just look at Socrates. What did Socrates? Did Socrates hurt anybody? That's not the claim anyway. He was speaking out against the gods of the city, and he was just corrupting the minds of the young. Jesus, historical character, maybe, like Socrates, who knows? And we could dispute some of the things he said, but it seems like some very bad people were after him. Same with Osho. I don't know if you're familiar with Osho. His ashram down in Oregon, I believe. I mean, if there's fake news now, there was probably fake news now. Then, did they actually poison the neighboring town? I don't know. But he was run out of town, and once he was in custody of U.S. federal marshals or whoever they were, he died shortly thereafter. Nobody knows why. Look at Julian Assange. There's lots of other martyrs like him, but he's the most profile at this point, the highest profile right now. What I'm trying to say here is that there is a real us inside. And I suspect those who are really gone after in life, they have decided to live life true to them. Not to culture, not to their schools, not necessarily to their families, society, friends. They've decided to live a life true to them. And fellow watchers, fellow listeners, fellow clickers and commenters, we all have what I'm going to call a pile of shit piled on top of us. And this is speaking to the choir, I know, speaking to the converted. But it's worth reminding ourselves of again, I think, that we were born into this world, right, with a genetic imprint of what we were. Pretty much all of our biology is destined by that, right? How tall we're going to be, minus and plus a few things like nutrition and what have you, but largely temperament and IQ, height, eye color, hair color, etc., etc. Gender, that sounds controversial these days, but yeah, of course. All of these things are the basis upon which the pile of shit is piled. Because almost nobody wants us to be ourselves, right? We're supposed to be citizens and students and all of these other labels that get put on top of us. So consequently, we are to some extent all traumatized and all burdened by what was piled upon us that we didn't choose to have piled upon us. And most of us go through life carrying what amounts to be like a big backpack of all this crap. Now, in order for us to begin to find ourselves, I think, or the process has to begin to dig down to find that bedrock of us underneath that big pile of shit. And it reminds me a little bit of, I use analogies of building, right? Because I've done some building. Depending on who we are and how much we've had dumped on us, it can vary how much is on top of us. Same goes for any structure that's built. It depends on the weight, the size, the soil, etc., how far down. I remember I used to live along a river delta, and there was a bridge that went across the river. And I was talking to somebody who had heard about or saw the plans or whatever of the bridge that went there. And apparently they had to go down, I forget what it was about 100 feet before they hit bedrock. If they didn't, it would be unstable. So if we don't somehow get through and dig down and at least touch bedrock of our real self, we're going to be unstable. And the Inner Genie Project, the mission is to help people to gain self-knowledge, self-confidence, and fulfillment. Yes, people can be momentarily fulfilled by drinking lots of alcohol and seeing prostitutes and all that, but it's a temporary fulfillment. True fulfillment is when we find ourselves, a truer sense of ourselves, free to some extent of all the clutter, of all the crap that's been piled on top of us. And we begin to rise like the phoenix, like that, as you see in the background over there, that genie lamp. Imagine if it's cracked open and the light starts to shine out of it. So I just did a little diagram here of somebody lying down under this huge burden and this big pile on top. And somehow we have to gain the strength almost in two directions. It's almost a matter of us digging down from the top and then us, the real self, beginning to push up from the bottom. And then when we meet there, we finally come to peace with what is more genuine to us. All the rest of the stuff is fiction. Citizen. You're a citizen? Seriously? A citizen is something man's mind has created, and then we go around saying that we are a citizen. We are what we created. We've descended into the hell of our own creation. No, let's rise. But understand that if we expose ourselves and stick our heads out in the name of truth, we become subject to people who are so propagandized that lies to them are truth. And truth is not only a lie, it's an extremely dangerous lie. So we have to be aware of that. When we finally find ourselves, we can rise. But just like when we go outside into a snowstorm, we must properly protect ourselves. It's the same when we're around other propagandized people. We have to protect ourselves because they're part of the environment and they can be very dangerous. People who stand up and walk out into the storms of the world, whether they be the windstorms, the snowstorms, they can freeze to death. Like the Eskimos when they get old enough. They walk off into the snowstorms so they no longer be a burden. Very dangerous. It kills them. Same with us. If we put ourselves out. So we have to be strategic about it, I think, when we find ourselves. But in finding ourselves, we can become really, genuinely confident. Because we don't have to be pushed around by the gyrations of the world and what other people say over here, what other people say over there. Because it doesn't matter anymore, because the reason we were gyrated is because we had all this stuff piled on top of us. And the truer self within, below, had built up these protective mechanisms in order to carry all that. And when something was said about that weight that we're carrying, we had mechanisms to back away to safety. But when we're broken through, what we see is we see a whole bunch of slaves who don't understand what digging down and finding the self really is. We don't have to worry about them anymore. We actually have true empathy, true compassion for people who haven't found that yet, maybe, or haven't found elements of it yet, and we want to become very helpful because we realize that there are brothers and sisters in humanity. So becoming confident. And then the next step is fulfillment. Fulfillment is something that's very deep. It's not about just smiling all the time and saying I love you and all this. It could be experiencing all aspects of life. It could be experiencing anger at times. That can be fulfilling because all of those aspects of us are part of us. If we're capable of experiencing certain emotions, even pain, painful emotions, even physical pain, then that is natural, and we can connect the dots as to why this is happening. When we begin to understand more, we have more knowledge of all that, and we're more confident in all of that. It's like a fulfillment. It's like we truly begin to live, and we continue to grow. And of course, the shit keeps getting dumped upon us, but we're stronger now, and we've flung off the bulk of it. We have like a blowhole to the light through it all. And over time we begin to shed more and more of it. And then we become almost invincible in terms of what people say to us. It doesn't matter anymore. Somebody rejects me? No, they didn't reject me. They don't even know me. I didn't know me. I still don't know aspects of me. How can somebody else know me? Most people don't know themselves. How they can know anybody else? So they're not laughing at us. They're just reacting to their own internal world. People reject us. They don't reject us. Yeah, so it's, and in knowing and in getting accustomed to this, there's a great degree of comfort within ourselves. We don't need approval because we have a growing degree of what is truth. When we have that, we have, like the Christians say, we have Christ. We have so much. Steve here again, great chatting. If you like what I'm doing, please like, subscribe, and share. Comment in the box below. Bye-bye for now.